I want to get better at painting faces. I've already painted some decent detailed ones, but something is still missing. I want to discover the secrets of not only painting a detailed face, but something extraordinary, like this one. It's a face or a character painted by Juan Sanz, better known as El Miniaturista on Instagram. His work just looks incredible. Just look at it. You can look in the eyes of the miniatures from 2 arms length away and you can really see the emotions and the detail of these characters. Or another example would be Roman Lapart over here, or John Ninas, both Golden Demon winners. Their work looks just incredible. Their faces have character, color and contrast. Oh, we need to learn how to paint like that. So in this video, follow me on my quest where I paint 100 faces. 100 faces! To discover the secrets to not only paint a detailed face, but something extraordinary that really pops on the tabletop. Hi, my name is Toby and welcome to Paint Quest.
Painting heads or faces is the most dreaded part of painting a miniature for me, yet it's so important. It's the focal point for most sculptures because we humans, we are just wired to look at the faces of others and maintain eye contact. See? So the goal of all this effort were not only to paint a detailed face, but also to explore what unusual color combinations can be used to create a colorful, contrast-rich, eye-popping focal point, perfect for the tabletop. Before I try to get better on full miniatures, let's build a test rack with a gazillion heads. If you have a huge plastic mountain of bits like me, there are so many spare heads from all the kits to choose from. Let's put them to good use. I have elven heads, human heads, white heads, thin heads, female heads, male bearded heads, orc heads and heads with helmets. All primed and ready to go. Let's start. Rule number 1 and key takeaway I got from our past year of painting faces is to use especially thin coats on faces. The details get clogged easily and nobody wants to bury all the intricate features in blobs of paint. Okay, time to start the clock. I start off with this elven head over here. I'll paint it using these 3 colors without mixing. First the darkest tone, then of course the mid-tone covering less space, and finally the highlights, which turned out to be super bright. It made the final result look super pale, but after all it might be perfect for an elf. The hair got a similar color gradient, just way darker. I again didn't mix the colors and another 15 minutes later, this is the final result. Here we have it, my current gold standard of a painted face, I guess. Face number 2 will use the same colors, but this time I'll mix them for a more gradual progression up the highlight ladder. I concentrate the highlights on the volumes facing upwards and build my layers to create a smooth color gradient. After 20 minutes I consider the face finished. For the hair and the green mask it took me another 20 minutes, completing the second head with about 40 minutes on the clock. Let's fast forward 4 more heads covering a zombie head, a red face, a human and a beastman. With that I have an average time of 36 minutes per head.
Okay, so I'm finished with the first couple of test subjects. I have to say, it already looks really nice, but something's missing. The reason might be because I'm using like one color in different shades, like dark, mid-tone and highlight. And I'm going to experiment on the next couple of test subjects, mixing different colors and see where it's going to lead us.
The last face I painted in this batch was this female head. Adding a bluish tint on the side and using a purple base coat instead of this color enhanced the contrast and made this one more interesting to look at. So I tried a couple of different things. First, on this human head, I base coated the face in red and added the mid-tone color yellow, then moved to a flashy highlight color. I aimed to create a weathered, sunburned face, which kind of worked. It's super interesting how red, yellow and pink can work so well together. Next I painted 2 more zombie heads, the first with a blue base and then green, and the other with a red base, followed by a bluish mid-tone and then pale green. Which one do you think looks better? I think it's time for another Skaven head. I started with a dark magenta and worked my way up with different flesh tones. I really like this one. Then I painted a couple of cultists with a mask, one based with purple, red and yellow, and the other one with plain golden tones. I'm not sure which one works better from a distance.
Wow, so I painted a gazillion of these now, like 10, 15, and I have to say it really worked. From face to face, from head to head, I really improved. And I think I understand contrast a little bit more and how to focus on each volume one at a time. I think having these kind of paint tracks is really helpful because you focus on specific parts and really try to get it better from subject to subject. Really improved, especially how to use contrast on the different volumes, but it's not good enough.
After painting 20 more faces, I quickly realized that you only need 3 colors to create a convincing gradient for a face. And this gradient doesn't have to be smooth. A face in this scale, when it's so small, unless you take a super close-up photo, you can hardly see the well-blended colors anyway. So for the next couple of faces, I'll focus on making the most of 3 colors only. For the biggest impact, the contrast must be really strong. Again, the face is tiny, so we need to exaggerate everything for maximal impact. We'll emphasize deep contrast now, starting with a dark color. We'll evenly space out the gradient across the color range, using this approach for our next face. It's important to leave the dark base color in all the tiny recesses to create depth. Another reason to only use 3 colors is that by applying a thin coat each time, we can actually create a gradient with 1 color only. Layering 2 mid-tone coats on top of each other and covering less area allows us to control the blend without introducing more colors. Lastly, we pick the highest level of our color range and add some highlights to the wrinkles only. It's important to not go overboard with this, because when you look at a face, the most prominent shine on our oily skin is actually quite sparse. So if the light source is coming from the top, we only dab paint on the topmost part of the tiny surfaces. And here we have face number 30. You might have noticed I use the flexible Triads from the Warpaint's Fanatic range here. I think they are awesome and provide a great way to select colors, especially for beginners. I experimented a little with their system, and because Army Painter is located just a bit north from where I live in Denmark, I went to my balcony and asked for a couple of Triads so I can showcase the true upside of these bottles and their Triad system. And who knew, just a few weeks later I received a package with supplies. They didn't pay me for using their paints or ask me to say anything of this. I just used the paints here because I think they're awesome and perfect for demonstrating color theory. I honestly appreciate them supporting tiny content creators like me, because not many companies do that, so thanks Army Painter, that's actually something really special. With these Triads we can now really get to work. Instead of using colors from just 1 tone, let's explore more nifty color variations.
Believe it or not, but this is the first orc face I've ever painted in my life, I think. So yes, I've painted some goblin, also painted some of these swamp orcish dudes, but they look different, they have a different kind of face shape. And I have to say, these classic orc faces, they're really fun to paint. They have these awkward shaped faces, these volumes, and it's a lot of fun to place highlights on them. And they're like double the size than human heads, and you can paint them a completely different color schemes. This one I painted with purple, yellow and green, and I have 6 more to paint, and I think we're going to pick some really weird colors for them, so let's keep going.
Okay, so I tried a couple of different colors and I think I'm onto something. When looking at a color wheel, you can draw a swirl clockwise or counterclockwise. We can work our way from dark to light and pick 3 colors along the swirl. As an example, the first head was painted in purple, yellow and green. And this head here was painted in reddish brown with a yellow-green midtone and the greenest green as a highlight. You see, you can vary the length of the swirl and choose different colors along the path. Each time you'll have a different but interesting outcome. Instead of using a swirl, opposites of the color wheel can also make great skin color combinations. For example, if the face should appear green, the base needs to be painted in dark purple, like this one. Alright, time to move away from the test rags of a gazillion heads and start painting something real. First, I'll tackle some Eldari warriors from my past 24-hour combat patrol challenge. I have some partially finished minis where I skipped the faces for speed painting reasons. It's time to bring these to completion. And by the way, if you like these kind of videos, let me know by hitting the like button and I'll make more content like this. And here we are already with the finished results. I added different shades and skin tones focusing on contrast. The pristine faces of the elves turned out well, but I want more variety and try something new. I plan to use different shades for specific parts of the next faces. To experiment, I'll paint up some dwarves from Novus Malum. I still need to assemble those, but thanks to the environment-friendly approach of these miniatures, I don't have to clip any sprues. The sprues are reused to make more minis, so I only have to assemble the dwarves, which is awesome. I'll focus on applying everything I've learned so far to these minis, but I'll also use different shades for the nose and the cheeks. Let's see how that looks. I exaggerated the red nose to create the feeling of dwarves who have drunk 1 or 2 ales too many in their long lives. Does this work? Or does it more look like a clown? What do you think? Next, I don't know if you've noticed, but the Skaventide is upon us. I've acquired some Stormcast Eternals a couple of weeks ago, second-hand, and started to build up a small force for Age of Sigmar 4th edition. I tried out some color schemes for speed painting to finish up an army in no time. And guess what? I didn't paint the faces, and now it's time to complete them. And yes, I'll paint up the entire Skaventide box soon on this channel. So if you're interested, you know what to do. I'm so happy with how the faces of the Stormcast here turned out that I won't miss the opportunity to paint some more. For my journey, I have to say, focusing intensely on the challenge of painting faces really paid off. I've improved so much with this project and I hope it inspires you to try something similar. While I didn't reach a golden demon level, I did improve a lot. I managed to increase my speed by about 55%, so all in the last faces took about 20 minutes to complete. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Bye bye.